Hey friends, this is Marilyn from Tarot Clarity. Today I'm going to show you something really special that I've been holding on to for several weeks. I don't know why, I just have, as though there was a perfect time to show it, but I just feel like showing it today. But before I get to that, there was a question this morning, and for the life of me, I'm sorry, I apologize. I can't remember who asked me this question, but I think it was a woman, and she asked, how do I mix, shuffle cards that are really old? Now, remember, I've only been at this for 50 years, so my oldest decks are 50 years old. I haven't spent, for all the money that I've spent on decks, I could have purchased something from 200 years ago or 300 years ago and had that be my prize, deck. Maybe I should have, but that's not how I decided to spend my money. I'm happy with the reproductions because I am a reader before I'm a collector, and so I'm happy to have representations of the older decks. However, my oldest decks that I have are 50 years old, and those are old enough, And I have, as you know, I have retired my Tarot of the Witches. I have 2 copies of that, one from 73, one from 74. And I kind of felt like they held up great. They really, really did. But because it's still in print, I figured I should just get another, a new publication of it so I could use this one for the next 50 years. Universe willing. But we discovered when we did a side-by-side comparison that this new publication isn't quite as nice. However, it's fine. I'll still use it. And I'll use my other publications when I feel like it, But so I thought I would use this to demonstrate. Now, I have many artisanal decks, like beautiful decks that were handmade papers and, Riveltini folds and just exquisite decks. And I know that the creators will say, and will scoff at me for saying, you don't have to baby them, because, they are made in the old-fashioned way to hold up to card play and stuff like that. But I do tend to baby those because I've learned that they're, as you see how, nice and there's flexibility in there. This is what a U.S. Game Systems deck. It flexes, nicely. And as the years will go on and I use this deck, it'll have a nice flexibility to it. But with the artisanal papers, my fear, and I've seen it happen, I'm not going to, say any names in particular, but some of the papers begin to bend if I don't shuffle. Like if I do an awkward shuffle, and it's not because the papers aren't good, but because maybe I just did an awkward shuffle, right? Sometimes the papers crease, and something like this won't crease. But an artisanal deck might, and so I started to baby those. So if you want to, I'm just using this one, so I'm not calling out any decks in particular, right? I'm just showing this one, and this one's brand new, so we know that this one doesn't apply. But I'm going to demonstrate with this deck how I might shuffle like a fine quality handmade kind of paper deck. Okay, so say that this is a deck that I fear will, bend or the paper will get damaged, right? What I'll do is I'll take it, even if it's a deck that I can easily riffle shuffle, because I like to riffle shuffle, because I really feel that that's the only way to really clear a deck. When you don't riffle shuffle, a certain amount of times, you're going to get the same cards popping up, So if you say, oh, wow, it's similar cards for similar question or a different aspect of the same question, it's because you didn't shuffle the deck well enough. And then what I'll do is after I do that once, I'll take half from each deck, right? I'll take half, and then I'll shuffle them together. It's just making sure that I don't mix up front and bottom. And then I'll do this. Now this way seems to be easier on the artisanal decks than riffle shuffling them all at one time. And if I do like break it in half, shuffle these halves together, and then after they've been shuffled, take half like I just showed you, right? It's kind of complicated, but that's how I'll do it. These are the slips of paper for the contest. If you guys haven't, if members have not joined the contest, please do. Now, and the names are going in my magic bowl. And so as they come in, they get written. They're all the same size. They get written on the paper, and the paper goes in here, and then I fold them exactly the same way. So here they go. Okay, so, another way, of course, especially if you want to be delicate with decks, maybe something like that. But, overhand shuffling is hard on the edges. Like when I overhand shuffle some of my decks, when I was trying to baby them that way, those are the decks that end up having chips, especially if there's gilded edges or there's, they're not like this kind of cardstock. If they're special cardstocks, that's the ones where I start to see edges starting to chip. So you could do it like this, but what is this? Look at what you're doing. What is it really doing? It's not really shuffling because you're just laying the cards on top of each other. How is that shuffling, right? Like you're taking okay, it's like you're not like shuffling individual cards. So you could still get chunks from a previous spread if you only do it like 2 or 3 times, right? You're not really doing much. And another thing, this one's tedious and you got to pay attention, right? So say you have my most delicate way, if I really feel a deck, particularly in my case, my artisanal decks, if I really feel like they've seen better days already, because as I say, I'm a reader first and a collector second. So my collectible decks, I use them. So maybe they weren't always intended to be maybe they were intended for collectors, right? What I'll do is I'll go kind of like this. I'll take the top card. This one, okay, will be on top. This one will be on bottom. The next card on top, on bottom. On top, on bottom. So eventually, some of the cards will still appear in the same sequence, but you're minimizing it, I believe, to just 2. And after you do this several times, and I'll do this is tedious. I'll do it like 7 times. So after I do it once, I'll do it twice, I'll do it 3 times, I'll do it 4 times, I'll do it 5 times, I'll do it 6 times. It's very, very, very tedious, but I think you get a decent shuffle with this. I don't know what this is called. It's just like Marilyn's made up baby kind of the deck kind of shuffle so that there's very little wear and tear on the deck. The only thing you have to make sure of always is to wash your hands. Like I have always washed my hands before I begun reading. And it wasn't because I wanted to preserve the cards. It was because I really felt like you're about to do something really special and you need to wash your hands, because when you approach something, I don't want to use sacred, that's kind of like a hokey word, but when you approach something sacred, you kind of come with a clean heart. And in my case, I just feel like I handle these cards with my hands. So I come to them with clean hands. So if you do shuffle your cards, remember when you handle your cards, your hands, grease and oils are going to get all over it. Or if you're drinking something and it's not like a baby-proof kind of sippy cup like Grandma has over here, excuse me, and never bring food ever into my tarot parlor. Oh my gosh, it took me about 45 years before I would bring, tea in a coffee, in a mug like this, where it's like, even if it spills, it's okay, And then I do this again, and you keep doing it. But it's very tedious. And obviously this is not a method I would use if I had like 5 or 6 readings in the course of a day, because I want to be able to handle and mix the cards, quickly. But this might be a method I would use if I was just for myself. And it, shuffling for me is also very, now a couple cards, but that's okay. If a couple cards go instead of one, that's even okay, because it kind of mixes it up even better. But handling and mixing the cards for me is a meditative event. I really touch base with whatever the source is. I call it universe. That's how I see it. The great unknown. And so there you go. I think you got the gist of this, right? And I guess those are the ways I like, but I like riffle, like a deck like this, I'll riffle shuffle with a bandit. So, and then I like to cascade. That's not necessary, but it's just it's just the way I've been shuffling cards for a really long time, and I just like the way that feels. But it took me a long time to riffle shuffle. It really did. And one of the reasons I really, had to abandon my fear of riffle shuffling was not that I had actual fear, but was because I just really want my decks to be cleared, this is a nice gesture, and tap it all out, the kind of thing like when I ring a bell or when I use the bowl or when I clear the air, so you clear the deck with a tap. But I really like to actually clear the deck, I really like to, tap it. I really like to, shuffle it really well. And I read that 7 riffle shuffles really clears a 52 card deck. So I kind of thought, okay, I'll get all mathematical about this. And so I did a ratio kind of thing, and I got that 11 or 10 and a half riffle shuffles would work for a 78 card deck, which might be true, but there's something that I didn't know about. And that is, after a certain point, you don't randomize the cards any better. So after about 7 or 8 shuffles with a 78 card deck, you're not randomizing it any better than if you just did it at 7 or 8. So the 9, 10, or 11 that I've been doing, the 3 extra ones, is overkill. So I've only very recently, in the past couple of weeks, stopped doing it 11 times because it is more wear and tear on the cards. So now I do it I'll give it I'll do the 7 and then I'll do one more for 8, right? But 8's not a magical number. And then I'll just overhand shuffle 21 times or 7. Because, really, if the 7 or 8 really randomizes the deck enough, you really don't have to do 21 because you've already randomized the deck. So you could just do 7. I just like picking nice numbers, that have a magical thing. And, probably 7 riffles is probably plenty. And, I just do the 8th one for good measure, but 8 doesn't feel magical. 8 is order. 8 is a good number. It's a good solid number. It all depends on how you feel. So that's how I do that. So now let me get the special deck. Alrighty, here we go. This is really special. So I have essentially 2 decks here. I'll show you the big one first. I have shown you my Visconti Homage by Marco Benedetti when he had it in a craft makers or a make playing cards version. I purchased that one. And at the time I wasn't able to afford this one, which was is an investment. But how does one resist such a beautiful deck? So here we have it. Now, I am not about to put blue painter's tape on these cards. Not about to do that. So moving forward, if you're someone who is offended by partial nudity, tune out. This channel and this video in particular will not be for you. Nothing here is distasteful. Nothing you will see is anything that a cultured individual might not already see in an art book from the Middle Ages or from the Renaissance or a museum. Okay? I'm just putting it out there like that. So I'm not about to cover them. But here we have it. Visconti Homage, Marco Benedetti. 96 to 21, you know, this the period of time it took him to create the deck, made by hand expressly for Meryl and Daria. And you have the beautiful box creation and the little tab. This will be variations we have on certain cards. And you see it's gold leaf. Now, this, talk about not knowing how to shuffle this. You know, I might just resort to using that other Game Crafter deck, you know, for when I mean, I know Marco will get mad at me and say, use it. You're supposed to use it because there's magic. There's magic in the gold, you know, there's just something about it. But I have to figure out a way that I can do it in such a way that I don't damage the gold leaf. Oh, sorry about that. They're kind of sticking together. I think, is that just one? Yeah, I guess that was just one. It felt thicker. And again, nicely, there's no numbers. I really appreciate when there's no numbers. Now remember that temperance was put in, you know, was usually, I think, right. You know, sometimes I think I've seen it as 6. I think I've seen it as 7. In this case, let's see, was this the Fool or was this the Magician? This is the Magician, so the Fool will probably, yeah, this was the Magician, so the Fool will be at the end of the Triumph. So if that was the Magician, then this will have been, I guess, 7. Yes, because Justice will be 8. So Marco has them in the order, I think, of that he believes that it may have been, you know. But because there's no numbers, you could do it any way you want. Or you can think of them in any way you want. I really like this Hermit. Now, I haven't shuffled this, as I mentioned. And I think that I have put these cards in the order, not the order, I think I've gone through this, right? I'll show them to you, however. But I believe that I did put my preferred options in this deck for me to use. You know, I'm using my preferred cards, the preferred options. But, you know, the nice thing about having options is that you change your mind. Just change your mind. Okay, now here we have the Fool. I apologize for coughing. Now the edges are not, you know, colored or, you know, edged in any way. I would personally be reluctant to edge these with a marker, to be honest, because if you slip, you're going to do something to the gold or, you know, to the white border, which is so elegant. So I'm leaving it alone. And then here we have pips. So we have the King of Cups, Queen, Knight, and I apologize for my neighbor out there with his wind his leaf blower, and the page. 10, and you see, how it's just magic. It's just so beautiful. So what is this? 10, 9, 8, 7, 'I really am sorry that you have to hear that. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I didn't notice that my name was on that. Wow. Oh, you're swell, Marco. Thank you for that. It's lovely. 2, 1. And now we have the swords. For these. Oh, these were the triumph cards. These are the pips. Okay. Queen of Swords. I like them because I really like simplicity in a tarot deck. For those of you who noticed in my own deck that I've kind of lost my momentum, but I'm doing it. Don't you worry, I'm doing it. I have lots of sketches that haven't made it to canvas yet, but I have been working on it, and I'm pretty clear on how I want it to go. But anyway, I like simple. I realize that's why I've been gravitating toward geometric decks in the modern decks. I like simple. I want the origin story to be represented. I want the suit and the number to be represented, and that's what matters to me, and I really appreciate this geometric nod, homage to this ancient deck. It's one of the first, if not the first, right? It's one of the first, the ones that this is based on, rather. Not that this, it's not, obviously it's not an exact copy or anything like that. It's just inspired by, it's an homage. Oh boy. Now, I'm going to have to do a reading with this, of course, but I'm not really sure how to shuffle it. Now, this looks like silver and gold. Yep, silver blades with the gold. So the silver and gold, just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And another reason why you really have to have meticulous hands is because of the gold and the silver. Now, fortunately for me, I don't know if it's a condition or not, but when I was an educator, and of course, every time you get a job, you have to, go through the fingerprint machine and stuff, and it's no longer done, I guess, with ink, right? I mean, I'm old enough that I was doing it with ink too, but at some point they got it where you put your hand on a machine, and my fingerprints never took. I would go in, it would take forever for them to get my fingerprints. And then when they thought they had it well enough, a week later they'd call me in, and then I'd have to do it with ink. That's how crazy my skin must be so incredibly dry. All the amount of lotion on the planet. So I don't end up really releasing a lot of oils on cards, but I still am meticulous. I'm meticulous about washing my hands. So I think you agree that this is just gorgeous in its simplicity and its elegance. I mean, the edges are just so elegant. And some people don't like borders, but he does borders right on this one for sure. It's just the elegant black and white border, just so beautiful. And I guess I ought to do a side-by-side comparison with the Make Playing Cards one that I have. That might be a side emblem. We'll see if it's on the Make Playing Cards card. But I just know this is going to be magic for sure to use this beautiful deck. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I've shown you my coin that I have from the Visconti court from the 14, I forget the year of the coin I have. I've shown it a few times. Let me pull it out and show it to you. Now, when I purchased this coin, the photographs were taken without this plastic monstrosity on it. And I was like, I really want that coin because it's, let me see if we can get it clear. I'm seeing it through a lens, so I'm not really, I think this is, of course, the right side up. But we see the head and the serpent's body. And he's eating, so you can see it in person that he's like got something in its mouth. Now this is 1466-76, so maybe there's not a clear date on this. And then I guess this is the reverse, obviously. And it's like a buckets with, I used to remember what it was. I can't recall what, something with bucket, like a branch in a bucket, or that looks like a broom, but I'm not really sure. With buckets dangling from it. And I wanted it because I wanted a coin that would have been perhaps used by, the family even, or these wouldn't have been in the public, but I just wanted a coin that I could associate with, with the earliest tarot decks. And then of course, when I bought the thing, they sent it to me in this, and then I was trying to break the seal. And then somebody said, you moron, you're not supposed to break the seal. If you break the seal, you can't prove that it's authentic. It was like, well, I know it's authentic. So I have the satisfaction of knowing it's authentic. But now that I know it's authentic, I don't need to prove that to myself. But I guess if I hand it down to somebody, they'll appreciate it if I left it in the seal. But so here is this beautiful, beautiful deck. And now let me show you. Show you the optional cards. And then Marco also gives, the ones he created expressly as an homage to the original Visconti deck, but the ones that could be used that are a nod to the Marseille, and then this one would be to the Charles VI. And then their Colesti, and then the Minchiati style. So he gives us optional styles, for these cards. So on the days that I just want to have, use it as a real homage, I'd use these options, right? If I really, want to, add the Marseille, I'll add these. Or if I just like to mix and match, which I think is what I did, I'll just mix and match. Now these two for the Tower, I think they're the same for the Charles and the Visconti Homage. And for the Minchiati, we have a person. And for the Marseille, we have a few people with a thinner. See, I think what I have chosen, and I'm not positive about the celestial cards, but I think I either left it in this order, because maybe I didn't mix them up yet, or maybe I didn't make my choices yet, I'm not sure. I think I probably would always choose that option. But let's see what we have left here. So this would be Death. This would be the Devil. which is probably, these are probably both, you know, Marseille options. Okay, this is a Marseille option. Okay, so this is the star. So let me see which card that is. So that's Marseille. So I probably had the original, which I probably will keep the original because I think I probably would prefer it. But I'm not positive. Okay, Marseille. Excuse me. Yeah, this would be Marseille. This is Marseille. And again, the beautiful silver and gold. Oh, so pretty. And then the sun is the Marseille. And this is definitely Marseille. Okay. So now, okay, so I guess they're in the order that they are on this box. And I didn't change the order. I went through it myself, and I think I made like I might have actually even put them in. I don't know. I don't know what I did when I went through the deck, and I was definitely picking the ones that I preferred, but I might have just preferred it the way it was and didn't make changes. Okay, so here we have from the Charles VI Bologna. So we have the Emperor, Fortitude, okay, I have this out of order. What's this one? Okay, so this one is Minchiati. This one's Minchiati down here, the Minchiati star, okay? So that's not Charles Bologna. This one is Charles Bologna. So I'm on the third tier here. And then this one is Charles Bologna. Charles VI. As is the star. Okay, now this moon is Ercole Este. The School of Este, is that what that means? Ercole d'Este. So this would be the moon. From the same Ercole d'Este, this would be the sun. I do like that world. I might switch the world up. I do like this world. And then the Minchiati. So we have, this seems like a star that's an addition to all these others, because this is the star here, 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 and here. And I don't see this star in that. So this might just be an additional star. And then we have these two fellas. I thought we just saw them. Maybe, oh no, these guys are standing. Okay, so these are these guys. That's from the Ercole Este. So I made some kind of mistake, I guess, in showing them or identifying them. And here we have another one that's just a plain sun, which I really do like these. I really do like these plain. That might just have been something Marco did. And I might just use these, actually. I might just use these. Now here we have a figure, which we see here in the Visconti Homage. And this would be the sun. I think this would be the sun. I don't see it represented in the star. And this is the Visconti star. And I don't see this one in his. So we got even extra. We have even extra cards above and beyond the extra cards, which is really cool. So probably the only card that I would probably switch for my own edification would be to get rid of the original world card and put in one of these. I might actually replace. I really like the simple. I really like the simple. I really like that. But I also like that one earth card with the bird. Of course, now I can't find it. But you could switch them up. There are going to be days where I switch them up and I just use what I want to use, depending on what I've, what I want to see. Just so beautiful. When a deck is so beautiful, it's a pity to leave any of them out, to be honest. And, even though the deck is already quite large, I'm wondering if I might not leave all the cards in. I'm wondering if I might not just put them all back in. I don't know. Now, I probably have them all mixed up. Now, I got to make sure that I have, the 78 that I'm supposed to have in this deck. So I'll have to go through it again and check. But I just had to share this with you because I just think it's fabulous. And how am I going to shuffle it? I don't see myself riffle shuffling, and I don't see myself overhand shuffling. I really don't. So I probably will end up doing this kind of shuffle. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to do this 7 times. Okay, now they're in order because I just showed them to you in order. So I'm going to do this method with these cards and I'm going to do it 7 times off camera. And I'll come back when I'm done. It's going to take a while because, it's a tedious kind of task. And we'll see. I'll lay a few cards and we'll see how random they appear. Okay? So I'll be right back. Okay, so I did it 7 times, 1 card at a time. I was meticulous about how I did it to make sure that I wasn't getting clumps of cards or anything like that. It took forever. So I hope you realize how much I love you guys. So I'm going to play some cards to see if that was an effective method for shuffling fragile cards. And I would imagine that this is my most fragile deck. Now, Marco might scold me and say, oh my God, don't worry about shuffling these cards. But I did ask him about it actually, and he said that the only concern or the only thing he noticed when he shuffled the cards was that they were scuffing on the gold. So I did this to see, number 1, how well it shuffled, and number 2, what, if any, damage there were to the cards or to the gold surface. And while I was handling and mixing the cards, because this took about, I don't know how long it took, but it took a while. It took at least 15 minutes to do 7 times. I came up with a question. So maybe I'll lay the cards and I'll interpret them, because as I was doing it, I was concentrating on this thing. I know I've said that I've dreamt about my grandfather, and when I dream about him, it's now very rare, and it's always that we see each other from across the road or something like that. But I had a dream where I was in his house with him, and I haven't had a dream like that in decades. But when I was younger, after he passed on and after my grandparents, both of them passed on, and Millie, I was lured back into that house in dreams and dreams. In fact, I was lured back into that house so many times in dreams that I contacted the current owner and we became friends on Facebook of that property. So that's how often. But then it stopped. So I kind of want to see if there was a message from my grandpapa, and I want to see if there's any damage to the cards, and I want to see how well it shuffled. Okay, so we have the ace, and I believe that it's either, I guess that's batons. Ace of batons. I was really sad when okay, so we have 10 coins. So we're not even in the same suit. So we have 10 batons, 10 coins. I think that's batons instead of swords. And we have the Pope. Yeah, I woke up crying. I guess because I miss him so much. And here we have the Queen of Cups. So yeah, this is a good mix, right? This is really good. Front and center of the core 9. 2 swords. So we have 8. I think that's 8 coins. Yes, okay, so this is definitely swords, and that was batons. The star. And the Wheel of Fortune, life goes on. This almost looks like a mirror. I mean, I know it's 2 and I know it's swords, so we can interpret it as 2 of swords. But with this highly reflective deck, I'm almost seeing this as like front and center of the core 9s, the one that is the least reflective, and it looks like a mirror, which I think is kind of cool. So I don't think I'm going to, do the quint cards for this. And maybe if I do it, I'll do it off camera for myself, because this is a kind of personal thing. But I don't think there's any damage to you can look at the gold background here. I don't think there was any damage to it at all. I think it was a really thorough and good mix. I mean, even when I maniacally riffle shuffle my cards, when I was doing it 10 or 11 times, plus then the 21 overhand, I wouldn't get a mix as good as this. So this method is really good. It's just that it's really tedious. It takes forever. So this would be the kind of deck and method that I would use like for a really special read. Like I'm thinking that I'll use this for myself. Well, I'll finish this read for myself when I go off camera, but I think I'll also use this as my end of year for myself personally to see what the following year might bring for me. That kind of thing. So this is already at 42 minutes. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be brave, be kind. And moving forward for 2026, show up, speak up, and vote.